All right, guys. Good morning. How we doing? About a Tesla call at end of day. Yeah. I guess we'll see. I mean, you're always gonna get. If you guys, I want you guys to take a second and realize, like, if you're seeing the market, at least what we've seen recently, it's not always this way, but if you're seeing the market close at a really bad rate, like moving really quickly down, like we saw yesterday, you're always going to get that little morning bull trap, in my opinion. So does opening puts at close, is that a good idea? I would sometimes be careful of that because sometimes you'll get that morning pop that's just like, it's sort of like just a fake little bounce. So sometimes, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and take that little call option at end of day to try to take advantage of that little bull trap or the little sympathy bounce in the morning, it happens. It doesn't always happen, but yeah, I guess just you got to be careful playing those end of day plays. Keep them small. Keep the risk management. So good morning. Yeah, go Rangers, man. Such an awesome team. If you guys are hockey fans, the Rangers are sweet. A lot of young guys. Just energy's crazy. I love them. Yeah, killer game last night if you watched it. So today we are back. Yesterday we officially touched the 200 SMA. 200 SMA on the Nasdaq. So we'll look at that. We'll look at how we bounced, or at least we're holding the 200 SMA. But then, of course, like yesterday, we have a lot of resistance to the upside. So we're moving lower. We're finding small bounces, but none of the bounces that we've seen are legit. All these bounces are getting sold into, and all of the bounces, even intraday, are getting sold into. So it just it continues to be weak. It continues to be a very weak bounce. We'll look at some levels today to watch to the upside. That's really all you have to do, guys. Make sure you have your levels to the upside and see what the market reacts at those levels. Like, for example, yesterday on NVIDIA, I had a level at 256 area, 265 area, and that was the previous day high. So I made sure to have that on my screen, and I never saw it bounce above that level, and that's why I continue to hold my NVIDIA puts. That's why I was That's why I ended up being profitable there. But if I didn't know that 265 level was there, and I just was panicking because the market was going higher, then a different decision probably would have been made. So today, you just got to have your upside levels on your charts. Make sure to have them, drawn out. Make sure to know where previous resistance was, previous support, and see if the market tries to get through them. If we don't break through previous resistance, if we don't break through previous support turning into resistance, then you can probably bet on the stock slipping back lower and moving lower intraday. So let's go ahead and sort of look at that today. Let's get an idea of what levels to watch. So futures, as always, that's what we do all the time here. If this is your first time here, we look at the futures every morning, get an idea of what levels to watch. Economic news. We have jobless claims this morning at 8:30. That's every Thursday. And then we have Netflix earnings. Netflix earnings after hours. Should be very, very interesting. I'm very excited to see what happens there for sure. I'm not going to play it, even though I do have that sneaky suspicion of it moving higher. I don't know why, but I'm still not going to let myself. I know everyone has that little gut feeling like, oh, I'm going to play Netflix because I think it's going higher. But that is just a good way to lose money. So let's quickly look at this earnings calendar. So this morning, American Airlines. Last night we had United. We have more banks, but the big one here is Netflix after close today. So I'm very excited to see how that goes. That, I don't want to say that could kickstart the entire tech market, but if Netflix has good earnings and the market reacts positively to it, I would say that there could be a little spark in the tech market. I don't want to say that helps, everything back, but that will definitely lighten the load of the negativity that we have been seeing, of the downside we've been seeing. So I'm interested to see what happens. I'm definitely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Netflix has every reason to do well this quarter. I mean, they've had some fantastic shows. You know, The Witcher, Ozark's coming out. I mean, I can't even think of all of them off the top of my head. But Squid Game, which was sort of previous quarter. What else? Lost in Space is a pretty good show. I watched that. But they continue to make great content. So I can't imagine them having a bad quarter, but it doesn't matter really. It depends on how the stock is, how it's taken. The stock is heavily sold off into that earnings. So, you know, we're in a situation where the earnings, we're in a situation where the stock price is not at all-time highs. We're not at all-time highs coming into earnings. It's never good to be at all-time highs coming into earnings. That almost always sets us up for failure. But you know, when you're down from the highs like you are right here, you know, 30%, maybe there's some sympathy here. So we'll take a look at it. I'm not playing it, guys. I mean, I would not recommend to play Netflix earnings, but if you really want to, if you're really a gambler, then, you know, go ahead. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a ton of shows. They have to be pulling in a good amount of watchers. All right. Yeah, Ozark is gonna be interesting. That's for sure. Sometimes they rush to rise prices. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll learn more about learn more about the company this quarter for sure. So next week we have Fed meeting. No, let's not focus on that today, but just to let you guys know, next week we do have a Federal Reserve meeting. It's on Wednesday of next week. All right, Apple back to support, Tesla $1,000 bounce, Nvidia at 250. That is working fantastically, guys, to the downside. I did take profits on my Nvidia puts. I do not like holding, you know, weekly put options, especially past the Wednesday mark. It's like the day that I don't like to hold past because, you know, Thursday, Friday, you get a really big acceleration in theta decay, and, you know, it just gets really crazy. So I wanted to take profits yesterday. That was my goal. We'll see. Maybe I can, you know, I did scalp a little bit more to the downside intraday with my scalping account. But, you know, just a beautiful analysis, beautiful all around. Congratulations to anyone that watches my videos that, you know, took that analysis to heart and didn't just, you know, blow it off. You know, I'm just trying to share my analysis, share what I'm looking at. That time, it worked out great. You know, it's not always going to work out. Sometimes going to be wrong, but that one made a lot of sense. So Baba, JD, Baidu, three Chinese stocks that are moving higher this morning. This morning, the Chinese central bank went ahead and cut interest rates. All right, so that's a little bit different, right? So let me pull that up. They did it last night. If I can pull up the news, the lending rates. Yeah, the lending rates. So China's central bank cuts key lending rates, including one for the first time in nearly 2 years. So very nice. I mean, I don't know the situation going on in China. I don't know their economy situation very well. Not really something I'm focused on or worried about. But that is causing some of your Chinese names moving higher this morning. Baba, JD, Baidu, anything else that you guys know out there, but those are the big three, I'd say. Those are the big three. XLE, is this the top? I think XLE is going to start losing steam. I don't think energy is going to continue to run like it has. So I would expect some pullbacks on some of these really hot sectors. Like, we're already getting that pullback on XLP. XLF has pulled back. XLV has pulled back. Healthcare has pulled back heavy. The only ones that are left, or the only sector that's somewhat left, is XLE, and you could say the XLP is slightly stronger as well. So I think there's going to have to be a pullback on this XLE move. When does it happen? I'm not sure, but I would be careful, continuously buying energy up here. I would be. Just be cautious, at least. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Microsoft holding 305. We'll look at that support. TSM. So TSM is a stock I've been keeping an eye on pretty closely for the last few weeks. The reason why I continue to watch TSM is because it had a catalyst. I need stocks that have catalysts. And the catalyst on TSM was earnings. So when you have an earnings catalyst, you get some price action, actually getting, some movement in the stock, especially on TSM. So TSM's been a good trade either direction, and that's really all I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that has volume, that has a catalyst, that has some movement. And TSM did fill its gap, as we talked about here in the live stream. It did fill the gap like we expected. And now it is turning that gap into resistance this morning. So let's take a look at that. That could be some downside there on TSM. And then finally, AMD. AMD is the only tech stock lower in the pre-market. The only one. At least on my chart, at least on my watch list, which is basically all the big names. There's probably a few little ones out there that are up, but AMD is the only tech stock on my watch list that is red this morning, and that is due to a downgrade. They got downgraded, so we definitely want to keep an eye on AMD today. Maybe some easy downside there. All right. After that, we will go over what the members want to look at. And, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and pull up the Google Docs. If you guys are a member of the YouTube channel, you can join for $4.99 if you're interested, and you can put your tickers in the Google Docs every day, and we get to look at what you suggest. All right. Nasdaq. Do you think S&P can reach 200 SMA? If some of these sectors that are strong start to weaken, then yes, I do. If energy weakens, if the consumer staples weaken, then I believe that's what's holding up the S&P. That's why the S&P is outperforming, because you have diversification away from tech stocks. So if you get that movement across all stocks lower, then yeah, it's possible. But maybe you don't see that. I don't know. All right. Nasdaq. Here it is, guys. Red line is the 200 SMA on the daily chart. You can see it right here. We touched it yesterday, and we're trying to bounce off it this morning, right here. So this is pretty crucial. I got to say, this is pretty crucial. This is at, so I would just call it 15,000 psychological at this level. I mean, it's 14,994 is the 200 SMA. 14,994 is the 200 SMA. Let's just call it 15,000. So we're right there, and we'll see what happens, guys. I'm taking it day by day. That's really all I'm doing. And the one thing that is in the back of my mind, and I always do have this in the back of my mind, and I think it is the right way to think, is this is getting into a panic situation. And I know from experience, or from trading this market for multiple years, it's right around that time when peak panic hits and retail starts to fold that the bounce starts to come in. So, to everyone that's out there that's staying patient, that's not worried, that's positioned correctly, that's not risking more than they should, you're going to find good opportunity here, because there is going to be a move back higher. I don't know when. I don't know exactly when. But, every peak panic period, every period where emotions start to, get to that feeling of, oh man, like, is this ever going to come back? Are we going to bounce here? Like, this is starting to look really bad. There's always something that, when people start to fold, you start to get that bounce. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but just keep that in mind, guys. This is not going to fall forever. Anyone that thinks this is just going to go down forever, it's not. So we want to stay vigilant here, because there is going to be an opportunity for some upside. And it's going to come quickly, and you're not going to expect it. Sort of like these previous bounces. Like this bounce right here came out of, we were pushed higher. We were looking like we were dead cat bouncing. If you look at this market right here, you would say to me, if you look at the right side here, right? If you look at right here, you would say to me, this is a dead cat bounce. This looks terrible. We're moving back to the lows. Everything looks pretty crappy here. And then over the next 4 days, you just reversed almost the entire move. And over the next 2 weeks, you're back to all-time highs, right? So just stay vigilant here, guys. I know it's a bearish time. I know people are getting a little worried. But I want everyone that watches this live stream to not get, too pulled to either direction. because this could quickly bounce. We have seen it in the past, sort of like this bounce right here. You have a pullback, you have a big move higher. I'm not saying it's going to move higher. I'm not being a delusional bullish person, but I'm trying to prepare you because the bounce is going to come and you're going to miss it if all you're looking for is downside. You're going to miss the opportunity to the upside if you are not coming into today or any other day in the future looking for both opportunities. So make sure to stay vigilant. Make sure to, look both directions here. However, as of right now, I will still say it is pretty weak. So if we drop down to the hourly chart, really what I think you want to see is you want to see it if you really want to wait for like the actual move, you're going to want to see a break over 16K. I think that is what sort of changes the trend in this market. I think the 16,000 level is sort of that flip of the switch, to be honest. So I think if you see that 16K break, I'm not sure when it happens. I don't know how long it takes, but I think that 16K break is what you need to see. I think you need to engulf all of this crappy price action. You need to engulf it, and you need to get back on the ride higher. If we were to zoom out, that would be right up here, because this is just a lot of difficult price action. You might see bounces in this area, but there is a very high probability in this area alone of it rejecting and moving back lower, right? You have so many previous highs here that could bounce, reject, or bounce a little higher and reject. So I think the 16,000 level is where you actually could withstand a continuous move. That's like the momentum change. That's the momentum shifting level there, I think, at 16,000. Now, I don't think we're going to get there in a short amount of time. That's almost 1,000 points higher. So let's go ahead and look a little bit closer. Here's the hourly chart. 15,150 was our previous lows. Remember that? Remember the 15,150 level? That's right around here. You can call it a range, 15,150, 15,160, right in this range right here. Previous lows and August highs. So right in that area I am watching today. Do we get back above 15,150? We're trading at it right now. All right, so do we just do this? Do we just bounce and reject off of it? It's possible, so watch out for that today. Then you got to watch these previous lows here, which were previous resistance levels back on yesterday. So right around this 15,300 area. So you got to watch that as resistance. That's where we rejected off of yesterday, right? So if we go to the 5-minute chart, where did we reject off yesterday? You can see it right here. So yesterday, we pushed higher, rejected off this 15.3 area, previous lows into resistance, and moved lower. So today, if you do bounce, don't get blindsided, don't get tunnel vision. If you move into this level, you could easily reject, right? So you need to be careful of these previous resistance levels. These are going to be tough to get through. It's not going to be easy. So you have that level, and then finally, you have this pretty solid level up here, which is right around 15.6. So you can see support all here, resistance all here, resistance here, resistance here, and finally resistance. Oops, let me zoom back in. Resistance here. So this level is pretty monstrous too, right? So you can quickly see, guys, how many short-term resistance levels there are in this market, and how you need to be aware of them while you're trading intraday. Because if you start to see the Nasdaq get some momentum and you start to see it trading into these levels, you need to be careful. And the reason I like to put these on my chart is because when I'm watching the 1-minute chart intraday, let's say I'm watching the 1-minute chart and it's looking like this, I don't know, if I don't have those levels on my screen as this starts to move higher, I don't know, where we are. So if I start to see this, if price action starts to move higher and I start to see us trading into this level, then I can say, okay, hold on a second. What is this level here? Why is this level on my chart? Let me zoom out and let me take a look at why this level is on my chart, right? So make sure to have those levels drawn out, guys. It's going to save you from making bad decisions sometimes. So to the upside, 15.3 area and 15.6 area, those are two levels I'm watching. And then, of course, 16,000. I wish I could answer the question of do we bounce off the 200 SMA? I would love to see it. I really would. I would love to see that bounce off the 200. We haven't been there in a very long time, probably a few years. So this would be a great time to bounce. If you want to talk to the market gods, now it's now or never, man. Let's go ahead and bounce off that 200. That would be great. All right, ES. So the ES is not quite back to the 200. You guys can see that, right? 200's down here. We're still sort of chilling at this 4,500 level. I think 4,500 psychological level is a pretty big level here. 4,500 on the ES, 450 on the SPY. I think that is a pretty big psychological level for the ES, for the S&P 500. So let's keep an eye on that. 4,500, that's a level I'm definitely going to be watching right around here. We did start to bounce off right around this 45.15 level right now. We're below the 100 and we're above the 200. So this is a difficult area, right? This is an interesting area to be stuck in here. Do we bounce off do we get back above the 100 or do we need to move back to the 200? Personally, if the Nasdaq here's how to think about it. If the Nasdaq bounces, if the Nasdaq bounces off the 200, the S&P is going to move higher as well. So if the Nasdaq market does bounce, if it bounces off the 200, then no, you're not going to see the S&P back to the 200 because it is going to bounce with the Nasdaq. So definitely watch that. Definitely watch that. So let's watch that 4,500 today. If it drops below there and the Nasdaq starts to drop as well below the 200, then yeah, you probably start to see that move back down here below the 4,500 level. If you start to see a bounce, it's just you're going to have to watch those levels, the same as what I just drew out on the Nasdaq, right, guys? So you have these previous lows that will probably turn into resistance around this 45.80. You have these previous lows here around 46.15. You have this big level up here right around 46.70, right? Resistance or support, resistance. So just watch some of these previous lows. Make sure to have them on your charts and see if we are able to break through them. If we are not, we are going to reject at these levels. So you need to be careful trading upside as you push into a resistance level. The same way you need to be careful playing downside as we push into a demand level. So that's ES. Does the SPY bounce or keep sinking? Dan, I wish I could answer that question for you, buddy. I just unfortunately cannot, and no one else on the market can. If anyone tells you if anyone tells you what's going to happen, they're wrong. I can only provide you the levels and what levels to watch, and then we just got to watch the price action. So the Dow 33,800, that's that really big low down here. Not quite at that level, but we are at the 200 SMA on the daily chart. That is not pretty. So 200 SMA on the daily chart, you guys can see right here, we are at that level, right? So the Nasdaq and the Dow are at the 200. Do we find some support off that today? That is what you're looking for today, right? That's your first watch. First watch is, do we get a 200 SMA bounce? You also have some pretty nice support in this area. Resistance, support. So this is just a big level here, around 34,800 on the Dow. So you got 34,800 level and a 200 SMA. So this does have some, nice support in this area. You want to see a push. If you do see a push, then watch out for the 35.5 resistance, right? Because look at this resistance right here, right? See that resistance? That will turn into resistance if we push higher. So watch out for that. So on the Dow, 34.8 to the downside, 200 SMA. To the upside, 35.5. And to the ultimate downside, if we really start to slip, down here around 33.8. All right, guys. The big one. The nasty one. The one that does not look good in any way, shape, or form. And that is the Russell. The Russell is a little bit scary here, right? It's a little bit scary here. A really clean flush through support. I mean, just like right through it. Support's sort of up here, and we just flushed right below it yesterday without any type of remorse. I mean, it was just straight through. We got a little bit of a bounce here right now, but that is nothing to make me bullish. I would look to see, do we break the lows here early morning on the Russell? This morning, if we get this drop below yesterday's lows, this is going to continue. So watch out for this. If we get that, we're already rejecting previous support here. Look at this. You have previous support right here. Look at what happened this morning. Resistance. That is no bueno. You do not want to see that if you are looking for upside. Previous support turning into resistance. If you do not break this level today, this is going to move lower. So, watch out for this top. If you do push higher this morning, look for that rejection to start to come in again. Don't panic if it starts to hit here and reject. This is where it's probably going to push into because you just sort of get that bull trap. So you might get that bull trap, push into resistance. If you reject there, you're probably going to see this thing slip. So watch 2070 and 2050 on the Russell. I am using Thinkorswim. This is Thinkorswim chart. All right, guys, let's go ahead and what stock's most correlated with the IWM? It's all small caps, man. It's all the small caps. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a single name. I don't know if I don't know the weightings, but it's just all small cap stocks. You can go to Thinkorswim if you are on Thinkorswim. You can go to Public, and you can go to the Russell if you want. You go to here, Public, and then Russell 2000. The RTY is the RTY are the futures. It's the IWM is the ticker, right? IWM is the ETF / RTY is the Russell futures. AMC is the largest holding, is it? I know that AMC and GME are in the Russell, I believe. So those are definitely the small caps. Yeah, I mean AMC looks terrible, and if the Russell moves lower, it's going to continue, guys. I mean, if the Russell actually breaks down, you are going to see AMC back to where it was before this whole thing started. It's going to be back at 10. If the IWM actually moves lower, right? If the IWM really unravels here, you are going to see AMC back to these levels. There's not enough amount of apes out there to keep this thing higher. This is a beautiful short. I mean, ever since it dropped below this 35, it's just death. And the same thing with GME. Look at ever since it dropped below this 132, just death. So, I mean, this looks terrible. I hope everyone here is not someone that just sits on these stocks. I hope everyone here is someone that doesn't watch these stocks on a daily basis. I haven't watched this stock probably since back in this time. It's just a waste of time. All right. The IV is ridiculously high. The theta decay is ridiculously high. You're literally trading option contracts that are literally so designed to make you lose money. It's like it's not what you should be doing. All right. So 8:30 we got initial jobless claims. So we'll take a second, in 30 seconds. We'll see if there's any reaction off that. But we're gonna have to move quickly past that. We're not gonna be able to. I better leave now. Hey, there's always a way to. There's always a. You can always change as a person, right? You can always come to the. You can always make a change. Economic calendar. So we got about right now. It should coming out relatively soon. Initial jobless claims. We'll see what the numbers are. Let's pull up the SPY news. We'll see if it pops up here. Everyone tells me the SPY tab news is usually pretty updated. Yeah, if you guys could take a second while we're waiting for the jobless claim numbers to go ahead and press the like button. I'm here every single day, Monday through Friday, live streaming, going over the market in the morning, giving you guys technical analysis, a little bit of, we theorize also. We do some, we do a thought process through the entire market. If you guys want to hang out, if you want to come to the future live streams every single day, Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m. I'm not seeing the news here. Anyone seeing the jobless claim news? Waiting on the jobless claim news. There it is. Yeah, killer win for the Rangers last night. Initial jobless claims. 286 expected 225. Last 230. $286 versus 255. All right, 286 versus 255. So more jobless claims. What does that do for this market? That should, in theory, if you just theorize what it should do, I'm not saying this is gonna happen because we never know for sure. If more jobless claims should be a dovish thing for the market. Should be a bullish. It should move the market higher. Now, why? Because everything's about jobs for Mr. Jerome Powell. The quicker we're back to full employment, the quicker they're gonna start tapering and increasing rates. So if we just bad is good now again, guys. It's bad is good. Bad is good. Bad for the economy is good for the market. We're back into this little bad is good situation. So no one go get jobs. If you want the market to go higher, don't get jobs. Everyone quit their jobs. The Fed will see it. They'll say, "Hey, we can't raise rates. No one has jobs." I'm just kidding, guys. But that is why you are seeing. That's why you're seeing that push higher. I don't think it probably won't last, but we'll see what happens. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on here. Just keep an eye on that S&P, that SPY. Keep an eye on that movement here this morning. Let's go ahead and get started into the real stuff. So here we go. Apple. So Apple, it's a stock that I continue to buy. Yeah, that's really it. I just continue to buy this stock, on any pullback. So we're pulling back, right? We're back below this previous double bottom. That is something I'm watching. So let me go to the 4 hour actually. So here we go. Here's the 4 hour. You guys can see we did have a little double bottom here. 1, 2, little double bottom around this 168. We did drop below it in the pre-market after hours this morning. So you got that push lower in the afternoon. In the aftermarket. And you're trying to get back above it. So I think Apple's going to try to hold around this 167, 168. That's what I'm watching, guys. I want to see, does this move try to hold this 167, 168? If we do not, then I would say there's probably a pretty quick move back to this 161. This is probably your next area of support in this area here. Previous highs, you guys can see previous resistance right here turned into support. Excuse me. So you can see back here in November, we had previous resistance turn into support. That makes me believe that this is a strong structure area. So if I do see Apple start to slip again, if the Nasdaq does break down again, then I would say, yeah, Apple's probably coming back down to this 162 area. So I don't think that you can say this is giving up this little double bottom area, this little structure area here, but it's definitely below it right now. We need to see it get back above. You guys can see right here, look. Here's the 5-minute chart. You need to see it get back above this 167.50 area. You can see it turned into support yesterday, right where that line was drawn. But if you see Apple push higher and reject off that level, that is no good, right? You need to watch this level here. Watch these previous lows and see if they reject off that today. So right around that 167.60, that's what I'd be watching on Apple. Tesla, a triple bottom. In theory, in a perfect world, it's bullish. But if the Nasdaq drops straight down, then it's not bullish, right? What's the Nasdaq doing? Anything? It's actually up 1% now, huh? Okay, you got your push through 150. All right, Tesla. So every time Tesla hits 1,000, you get a bounce. Every time. I don't like that chart. Let me go to a better chart here. Yeah, let's use the 30-minute, I guess. Yeah, so here's the 30-minute. You can see right in this area, 1,000's right here. $1,000 is right there. And you can see bounce, bounce. Yesterday, we got that little slip below, little trap, I think. This happens, guys. You get those bear traps as well. A little bit of a trap under 1,000, probably shorts loading in here, thinking that we're going to just continue down, and then you get your little morning spike, right? So that's a little bit of a trap. All of these shorts here are now underwater, right? Is there a possibility for Tesla to have a huge day off 1,000? There always is, guys. There's always that possibility, but you don't get ahead of it. You wait for it to happen. That's really how Tesla works. You don't get ahead of these moves. You wait for them to really start moving. You do not need to be the first one in line on a Tesla move. You guys should know that by now. You do not need to be the first one in line on a Tesla move. You can definitely, sort of fill in on the pack that starts to move this thing higher. So right now, I am watching 1,000 as a support level, and I'm watching 1050 as a resistance level. You can see over the past 3 days, look at how tough the 1050 level has been. If you are trading Tesla, and you see a move to the upside and you start to trade into 1050, you need to be careful. You need to be careful as you start to trade into 1050. Watch that 1050. That will be resistance. But see if you can bounce off the $1,000 level. So watch that 1,000, watch the 1050. That is your range today. Doug, if you purchased the Discord, you should get an email from LaunchPass. You get an email from LaunchPass, and it gives you your login. If you can't figure it out, you can email me down below. The email is down below. So that's Tesla. NVIDIA. So you guys know we've been trading NVIDIA, and we took those puts. However, you're starting to find some support in this area. You guys can see this little structure here. So I'm keeping an eye on this 250 level. You guys can see a little top, little double top that we broke through. So right here around this 250 is where you're starting to find support on NVIDIA. So watch that 250. If you are still in this play, that 250 looks like it could act as a little bit of support here, right in this 250 level. Previous highs turning into support. So watch out for that. If that breaks and we drop below here, if you guys see this, you guys see this little range right here? See this little area right here? Highs and lows, and that was like a really quick move. So if you drop below that 244, 245, then I think that is your final breakdown before 230, right? So watch for 250 to hold today. That is looking like that's coming in now. If we go to the shorter term time frames, that is your 250 hold that you are seeing right now. So look at that. Right off 250, little bounce. If you do see this thing reject under 250, then I would look for more downside today. It's very possible if the Nasdaq weakens to the upside. I would be very careful with the upside on NVIDIA, guys. Just because the price action has been really crappy. So like these previous levels, this previous level, you guys can see previous lows here, right in this area. Previous lows turned into resistance. That's that 258 area. And then you have these previous lows here, 1 and 2, right? 261 area. And then you even have the 265 area where we bounced and rejected off yesterday. So you just have a ton of levels to the upside that you need to be aware of if you are getting into NVIDIA to the upside. That is why you got to be careful, trading these moves. When you have such big downtrends and you're trying to catch these moves, you just have to understand that there's so much working against you up here. So be careful. There's definitely a possibility of it pushing through, but you need to have these levels on your charts, because if you buy a call option and NVIDIA is pushing into 258 and this thing just dies off of it, you're not going to be happy. And what could have you done to avoid that? All you had to do was set up your charts in the morning, wake up a little earlier, and put some levels on your charts. So watch the 258, the 261, and the 265s as you push higher. There probably is some possibility for a little bit of a push if the market does bounce today, off this 250 after being down so much. All right, you got a little bit of pop on the Chinese names this morning. You got right here, BABA, big gap up. Let me go to the hourly chart. So BABA's just been full of gaps. It's just a big mess of a stock recently. You guys can see, look at all these gap ups. They end up getting filled. We gapped up here, filled the gap. We gapped up here, filled the gap. Gap down here, filled the gap to the upside. So now we gapped up here. Do we need to fill this gap to the downside? I don't know. But definitely be careful of that. Do you think BABA is a gap and go? Do you really think BABA does a gap and go here? That's what I would be watching. Now, on top of that, you need to watch this 140 level. If you are looking at BABA today, you need to know that there is a tough resistance at 140. Look at this level. Previous support turned into some nasty resistance here, and it will most definitely turn into resistance again if you push into 140 today. So watch 140. Be careful of that resistance on BABA. BIDU, I'm just sort of pointing out a few of these names that are gapping higher. Another gap higher on BIDU. I really don't think you trade this until you see this downtrend break. If you see the downtrend break, then maybe there's some opportunity. But right now, guys, this thing is under pressure, big time. Finally, JD, just a sideways market. I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole, to be quite honest. So I'm not even going to recommend it. I don't even want to show you guys this. It looks terrible. So, if there is any, movement on the Chinese names today, I would focus on BABA, and I would see how it reacts above 140. That's what I would be looking for. That's what I'm going to keep an eye out for. XLE. So if you guys remember, I was telling you guys about the 20 SMA on the 4-hour chart on XLE. Remember that? And where we were saying, hey, if this thing does not hold the 20 SMA on the 4-hour, this could be the beginning of a breakdown. Now, look at what is happening this morning. You are finally breaking down below the 20 SMA on the 4-hour chart. This morning, you are getting a move lower on energy below the 20 SMA on the 4-hour. And to me, this is looking a little bit heavy up here. So you can either, if you really want to catch the downside, you could. But just be very aware of this potential breakdown of trend. This is a trend that looks like it is starting to break, right? You're starting to get, you sort of had, it's hard to draw a trend line when it's so vertical. You sort of had this little trend here, but you are definitely seeing a break below that 20 SMA right here. So watch out for that. Watch out for energy today, guys. If you're heavy in energy, just be aware. You have to understand this move is very large for an energy ETF. This is a very large move, like 25%. So there should be a pullback. It's probably going to come to here. It's going to retest the previous highs, and it's going to still be bullish, but it's going to have a nice bounce off that, right? So you're probably going to end up coming back to that 59. Why do I say that? Because you can see a lot of these other, sector moves are starting to slow down. XLV. Look at this healthcare move. That thing got crushed. XLF, crushed, right? Big move higher on the financials, crushed. And the only one that's sort of holding up, which still looks okay, is XLP. But you can also see here on XLP, this looks like a little bit of a head and shoulders to me. And that wick yesterday does not look good. And I could easily see this back down to the 73. Yeah, guys, just be careful on these big sector moves. They were fun while they lasted, but I think they're getting a little bit frothy up here. I'm not saying there couldn't be another pop, but I don't think this is the right time to be going along, big time. Earnings are after hours today, not this morning. Microsoft. All right, guys, I'm watching this Microsoft area, 305. I am definitely adding shares here. That's for damn sure. So I'm looking to see if Microsoft holds this 305 area. You can see right here, resistance, turning into support. I think this is a great opportunity on a fantastic stock. If you guys can get over your fear and if you stop watching CNBC every day and you can understand that in 30 years, I can almost guarantee you, it's not financial advice, but I can almost guarantee you Microsoft will be a more expensive stock than where it is today. If you don't believe that, then don't invest in it. But if you do believe that, which I think probably about 95% of you probably would, I think this is a great opportunity to start your long term. If you don't have a long term, this is the stock I would be starting with here. This is a great discount on a fantastic stock, 12% discount on Microsoft. It is not very often that you get a 12% discount on Microsoft. And the goal here, guys, and what you need to do if you are going to invest in a stock like this, you do not buy all of your stock here. If you have $5,000 to invest, you invest, $500 here. If it moves lower, another $500, another $500, another $500 down here. If it goes to $230, now you're at $2,000, right? Now your average cost is probably right around this $250 area, right? Because you're averaging down on this stock. Now, when Microsoft decides to bounce, in the future, you'll say, "Oh man, I am very happy I dollar cost averaged into that stock, and I just continued for it to move lower." If you look at a stock that you like moving lower, you should be happy. There should be a smile on your face because you are able to purchase shares at a lower price if you actually believe in it long term. And the problem for most people, they say they want to start a long-term portfolio, but they're not thinking like that, right? They say, "Oh, I want to start my long-term," and then they see an unrealized loss and they start freaking out. So if you really want to be in a long-term portfolio, you got to make your mind that way. You have to be that. That's how you have to manage that portfolio. All right, TSM. So what I'm watching here today is I'm watching for this 130. I'm watching for this gap area to reject. If that rejects, I think you move lower. Now, I don't know if it's going to reject, but I am watching for it to reject. It's this previous gap area, this beginning of the gap. And if I go to the shorter term time frames, you can see it's starting to show some resistance at that level. Look at this. So that's where that gap was, and it's starting to show some resistance there. So I am going to be watching TSM for resistance around this 132 and then around this 133. I'm going to be watching this entire zone here to see if it starts to reject. Now, if it does break out, if this is where it wants to find support and it actually gets some push higher, then I would love to trade this both directions. So either way, I'm watching this 132, 133 as rejection for that move back to the downside. If that does not happen, I would love to play this back higher. But I'm going to have to see it first. Yeah, I mean, in the short term, bearish bull, but long term, I don't see the problem. It's just an opportunity to buy more. AMD. All right, AMD got a downgrade this morning from Piper Sandler. Downgrade, price target down to 130 from 140. So it's right sort of where it's at. Daily chart. So, I mean, if you think NVIDIA goes to 230, guys, you should think AMD is going back to 120 area. I mean, that's sort of how it should work, right? If you think NVIDIA is moving lower to 230, then I would say you think AMD moves back down to this 120, right? So you have previous highs here, previous support, or resistance into support. This is probably where AMD moves lower, guys, too, if the Nasdaq moves lower, right? That's probably where you see this thing back down to. You're at the 100 SMA this morning. You're sort of actually below the 100 SMA this morning. If I go to the 4-hour, you can see we're starting to slip down here in the pre-market. If you do not hold this little double bottom around 125, then I would say you start to see this slip into the 120s. Just watch that. That's if the Nasdaq starts to slip, right? If the Nasdaq does bounce today, AMD is going to find support. But you are definitely looking at a potential support area back here at 120. That would be the nice area to look for upside. This is like no man's land right now. All right, guys. So we're going to go over the stocks that you guys want to look at. If I could quickly do a little plug for myself here. If you guys did not see yesterday, make sure to check out these pretty sweet desk mats that I partnered with Epic Desk on. I put the link in the chat. You can pre-order them now. Just want to give a quick plug on that. They're awesome. You can go to the website. You can watch the video. They're bull bear. Got the option Greeks on the right side. The Options Insider and the Wall Street sign. It's like the background's Wall Street. They're great. So if you want to check it out, if you want to support the channel, if you need a desk mat for your trading setup or for your desk, feel free to check that out. It's much more exciting than just getting a black one. It looks pretty badass. So links in the chat if you want to check it out. So that's my quick plug for you. Now let's go ahead and look at the stocks that you guys want to look at. We looked at Microsoft. We looked at Netflix. Right? Do we look at Netflix? No, I don't think we did. I think we might have, but we'll look at Netflix real quick. All right, let's start with Netflix. We'll do it real quick because I think we might have, but... So here's the daily chart on Netflix, guys. You can see it right here. We have given back the entire move. Entire move has been given back on Netflix, right? Big push higher, big pullback, entire move's gone. It's the pump and the dump. The pump and the dump on Netflix. So pretty crazy. Big push higher, big push lower, back to where we were started. Right back to where we started before the earnings that came out back in July. So, it just so happens that we have earnings today. What happens here? I don't know. I can't tell you what happens on earnings. But what I will tell you is we had a big move higher. We gave it all back in this tech weakness, and we are right back to where we were here. In my mind, I would say that Netflix has improved since, 2 quarters ago. I think they've came out with more great shows. I think there should be better numbers. Does that mean the stock goes higher? Absolutely not. So just watch this 508 level, guys. If we do get a drop on earnings, maybe down to 480. If I give you the expected move, so everyone here is aware, the expected move is, listen to this if you are trading earnings. The expected move is $34. If the stock does not move up or down more than $34, your call options or put options will be destroyed. If you get a move of $10 to the upside and you go and have a glass of champagne because you think you just called it right, you are unfortunately going to be very upset the next morning because your option premiums will be crushed by implied volatility. The stock has to move more than $34 in either direction. So that is why you do not play earnings. KMX. All right. KMX. CarMax. Oh, that's CarMax. Yeah, that's a tough chart for CarMax right now, I must say. Yeah, wow. Damn. Yeah, that's a pretty ugly chart for CarMax. This is the weekly chart. So that's really nasty. You're probably going to be trying to find some support off this level. You're probably going to try to find some support off 108 on KMX. But this is looking pretty bad. Yeah, I would not touch this until you see something change here. Unless you're just trying to find downside. This is, wow. Look at that daily chart. Look at the last few days. So yeah, just if you start to see rejections of previous levels and you just want to keep playing it to the downside, then maybe. But right now, I would not touch this for the upside. It looks like a big time falling knife. So yeah, careful on that. Futures are ripping. Yeah, they're actually doing pretty well. All right, CRM. Daily chart. CRM just sort of never did what I wanted it to do, guys. I wish it would have held that 250. We already looked at this one. This is my little drawing for you. What I was saying here is you're trading within a range on CRM, and you need to wait for the range to break to either direction. You need to wait for this range. Do not trade CRM while it's in this range. It's going to be very difficult. Wait for the big breakdown to 216s or the breakout above 240. I would be careful in this range. Watch these lows. Look for it to break down, then change and follow that direction. Because right now it is very sideways. Qualcomm, just a nasty rejection off 190. If you see that chip stock weakness, if it breaks this 170 area, guys, I would assume this starts to slip. But, is it just going to trade within this channel? I'm not sure. But you can just see, guys, it's just a channel for now. There's really nothing I can say about this. It's either you get a bounce off the channel or you get that flush through. So you just have to watch it today. Watch to see if it flushes through the channel or if it starts to get support off the channel. That's really all you can do. If you want to play the channel, you buy calls down here with a tight stop. You do not buy, I would rather, if you see the market is strong, you'd rather be looking for upside off this support than trying to, force the downside. Now, that's all dependent on what the market does today. If the Nasdaq drops 2%, this is going to drop as well. So it's just something I can't let you know pre-market, but I can tell you, watch this channel because that channel is going to be important. Oracle, this is an example of a breakdown, right? This is an example of a slippage below support right here. This is here, live for you. Look, you have previous resistance turning into support, and this is your flush candle right here. Look at yesterday's price action, flush right through it. This is when you would start looking for that downside, right? You're looking for that continuation to the downside on Oracle. You just flush through a major level of support. Maybe you get a retest, and then you start to slip back to the downside. So that's what I would look for in Oracle. I'd be looking for downside there. mRNA, I think mRNA is done. I think mRNA moves back to I wouldn't say pre-virus levels, but I think mRNA gets sort of hammered here. It's getting hammered. Yesterday, we played it to the downside. Beautiful play. Looked really bad yesterday. I mean, look at this daily chart. So I would be watching this all day for downside. I would look for previous rejections. I would look for previous support to turn into resistance. So look for, let's say, pre-market highs to turn into resistance. Look for this to turn into resistance. That's all I'd be looking for. Look for resistance, look for rejections, and look for that move to the downside. CMG in the weekly, yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be back down to this 1375, right? Probably going to play this 1375 area right here on CMG. Watch that. 100 SMA as well. Amazon is just a crap stock, honestly. It's just completely sideways. I mean, I would have liked to see it hold 3,200. It did not. Maybe 100 SMA holds it as support, but you need to see this back above 32, guys. I would not play upside until you see this thing back above 32. If you do not see this back above 32, I would not play upside. I would continue to look for that. Look at this 32 level. That needs to get above. You need to get above 32 for bullish movement. I would not trade calls under this 32 because you can get royally screwed here. If this moves into 32 and moves back lower, you can get very, very screwed. So watch out for that 32 today. That would be the level I would watch. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. If you guys could take a second, help support the channel. If you're here every morning or if you're just popping in today, press the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost to 40,000 subscribers. That would be an awesome goal to hit. It's possible to hit it by end of month if people really are generous, but that's going to be maybe difficult to get. But if you guys want to subscribe, if you're here, press the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you want to check out that desk mat, that is down in the description below, as well as in the link in the chat. I'll post it one more time. Just check it out, see what you think about it. What else? If you enjoyed today, thank you for being here. If you want to come hang out in the Discord chat where we trade live every day, we continue this analysis throughout the day with just a really fantastic group of like-minded traders. I know a lot of you guys that are listening are from there. Make sure to check that out. The link is down below as well. All right, guys, have a fantastic day, and I will see you in tomorrow's live stream. Peace out.